Hi everyone, this is Michael for Spirit Comics. Welcome to my comic book review of It Came Out on a Wednesday, #1. If you're new to my channel, Spirit Comics, please do subscribe and smack that notification bell so you'll be notified each time there is a new upload. I am a small channel. Currently, to my knowledge, only 68 subscribers, so I'm growing very slowly. It seems like when someone subscribes and someone unsubscribes, I don't know why. It's frustrating. And if you enjoy this comic book review, share it with your friends, family, enemies, pets, neighbors' pets, or neighbors, whoever might enjoy it. Don't forget to comment as well. Alright, this came out in June, I believe. Or is it? No, it was July. This came out in July. It's from Alterna Comics. As it says here at the top, it's an ongoing double-sized anthology for only $1.99. Half of the price that Marvel or DC currently charge for their big ol' anthologies. And this one has several stories in here. It has 3 stories from an ongoing series and several short stories. Now, I like this cover, not because of the monster, but because because of all the comic books here on the floor that is just laying about. You see Watchmen, it's all all wadded up and it's crinkled and everything. I thought that was funny. Now, there's a behind the cover section, and I haven't really read that one. But the ongoing comics that are in here is Mr. Crypt, The Wicked Righteous, and Blood Fist. And the others are short stories that were submitted. Now, the first one is a story that Alterna Comics is going to be putting out called Exilium. And the only way I know how to describe it is a futuristic space type adventure with a snarky commander, who really would rather play softball than listen to his compatriots. It's this guy right here. His name is Buck, B-U-C-K, I think, or B-U-apostrophe-K. And he's called into a meeting with other commanders, which he really doesn't want to be in. He would rather be playing ball. But, he has to, so they tell him of something that's going down, and I really don't understand it myself. So I'm going to concentrate on the artwork. I think it's really good for this type of story. It's detailed, and each panel is not wasted at all. And with this scene, this firefight scene, it goes fast, and it's an action-packed. And what I did find as slightly strange was something that was said a few pages back. This right here, this woman, one of the commanders from Melbourne, Australia, says, "You're violating a direct order, Lieutenant." Okay, he's not a commander, he's a lieutenant. And he says, yeah, you can court-martial me later. I'm not gonna let you do this. You know, he's going after these other ships that are invading their airspace, I guess, or whatever. And so after the firefight, when he gets back, and he talks to this woman who said that he's not allowed that he was out of line. And he says, "So how about that court martial?" And the woman says, well, I'm not going to go into what she says because it's just kind of confusing to me. But basically, instead of court-martialing Buck, they promote him to communications. To commander. And I don't quite get that, and you can see the look of confusion on his face. He says, "What? Having trouble receiving?" And then, of course, he's, cuts off because he wasn't really there, apparently. That was only a hologram of him. He came back to his own ship. And I'm not exactly sure how that worked. But eventually, he got back to his ball game. So, that was a confusing story. This one is only 2 pages long. It's called Hexed. And I like this artwork much better because it's really detailed. It's dark, but you can tell the reason why. This is a swamp setting. Someone goes in to steal a voodoo type book, and once inside, once the book is stolen, the guy finds out that it's cursed because his life becomes one tragedy after another. So he tries to return it, but it doesn't look like the spirit or ghost or voodoo priestess or whoever guards is gonna have that. So it was a really interesting short story. Now this one I did enjoy as well. It's called The End of a Beginning. It's another short story. It's kind of hard to follow, and I think it might be because of misplacement of the speech bubbles, although I could be wrong. Because it starts out with this samurai traveling with this wolf that has apparently 9 tails. And he's not fighting with the wolf, but they jump through this green portal right here. And they wind up in some other world. And the narration here is from the samurai, and he keeps on going about, he keeps talking about how he's fighting with the wolf, but yet you don't see the wolf once they're in this strange world. Instead, he's with a young woman. And by this point, here's the woman, and there she is again and again. And then she's acknowledged down here, so it's confusing to me. I think it's this person's attempt at manga, you know, the Japanese version of comic books. And while the story itself is confusing, the artwork is pretty. I like this tree right here. I'm not sure if it's a cherry blossom tree or what, but I can tell it must be important because it stands out from the rest of the color palette in the storyline, because everything is different shades of blue and black, but this stands out as a pink tree. So like I said, I'm guessing a cherry blossom type tree. And it's an entertaining story, even though it's confusing. You know, if I go on the if I ignore the narration and I go just on the dialogue alone, then it reads better, I think. And so they're fighting this type of guardian because the woman got this branch from the tree because she wants to give it to the samurai, who apparently she's now in love with, or something like that. And the story ends with the samurai alone. So I don't quite get it, but that's, you know, it was nice. And this is just a one-page story called Mr. Crypt. This is an ongoing series at Alterna Comics, and it's just a funny little one-page. I'm guessing this skeleton person is Mr. Crypt. Says, and he's just sitting there at the park, and he's tossing, you know, bird seed down to or some type of seed down to the ducks, and this rat, you know, sneaks somehow gets the seeds or whatever, and starts eating the seeds all by himself. And Mr. Crypt, you know, gets a little bit mad, but then says, you need to eat too. So yeah, that was cute. Now this story is written by Peter Simeti, the guy who runs Alterna Comics, and who's also been the subject of unneeded, you know, bullying in the past few days. Now, at first I liked this story that he wrote called The Maddening Sound, because it's a superhero story of sorts, and it's narrated by the superhero, who is not identified. And the superhero basically is commenting that he's seen both fear, terror, and panic in both the victims and, you know, the bad guys, the people who terrorize the victims. And that's the superhero right there. So he's not given a name. That's I'm guessing just maybe it's because this is a short story. I don't know. But after reading this story a few times, I figured out that everything on these pages where the coloring is shades of brown, this is a flashback, you know, memories that the superhero has. And the hero talks about a murmur inside his head, and the further up he flies, the worse the murmur gets. But when he reaches outer space, there's finally silence. But then, apparently, he tumbles back to Earth. So this is reminiscent of Superman in many ways. Now, this part of the story changes to shades of blue and black. So now, there's another person speaking. And apparently, it's a psychiatrist. This superhero is seeing a psychiatrist because he is now consumed with fear. It's almost like the superhero was constructed and, well, he wasn't even constructed, because we weren't given a name. We didn't even know his powers aside from flight. But then he's deconstructed, and brought down to the level of just an ordinary person. So this could be better, I believe. This story could be better if the superhero was first, built up, constructed, if it were to be an ongoing series, give us his superhero name, all of his powers aside from flight, and then what leads up to him losing his mind, so badly that he needs to be seeing a psychiatrist. And then the psychiatrist says that she has a letter for him, and apparently it's a thank you letter, and drawn by a little kid. That must be him, possibly a wife and a child, with a big thank you on there. And this one is called Sleep Ships. Now, all of it is entirely black and white, like you see here. It's kind of difficult to follow for me. I mean, somebody else might be able to grasp a hold of Sleep Ships better than I could. But somehow a group of people got lost somewhere, and apparently the only way they can get back home is by dreaming that they're home. And once they do that, then they arrive home. It's kind of strange, but it makes for an interesting story. This one I just found repulsive. It's called The Wicked Righteous. It's an ongoing series at Alterna. And as much as I like Peter Simeti, this is one story that I decided, I won't buy, because it doesn't, it's repulsive to me, and it makes no sense at the same time. It's about this family, and as you see, the dad and the mom are already suffering from something because their faces are very contorted and green. But the sister and the brother are healthy, and the sister is watching television, and she's listening to it, and it's some sort of preacher. You know, and the preacher says, it's only human to question, why has our Lord forsaken us? And the father says, kids, it's time. Don't be scared, alright? And the daughter says, yes, sir. And then we see here, blam! And the preacher is still talking because the TV set is still turned on. Listen to me now, because this has long been written down. And I guess the father or mother says, I love you. I love you. Blam! You know, this is no virus. This is no weapon. This is a judgment from God. Are you sure, this voice says? Yes, we have to. And the little girl is crying, so I don't understand this at all. The wicked will rot alongside this godless world. And this is what totally repulsed me. Blam! It's the boy who killed his father, mother, and sister. Why? I don't know. Because here is the boy. He doesn't look to be very old. Maybe about 12, 13, 14. And he kills all three of them. And he says, I love you too, sis. And I'm like, what? And then there's another blam. I'm guessing the boy killed himself. I just, a story like that repulses me, because I'm sure this does happen from time to time in our own nation. Now this last one is called Blood Fist. It's about a weird planet. At least I think it's a weird, some other planet, where apparently a version of a type of Reich is ruling. So this one man, Blood Fist, takes it upon himself to correct that, because he goes from town to town taking care of evil, and you can see the blood that coats each fist, hence the name Blood Fist. And he goes to this one town where this little girl by the name of B, she is in charge of retrieving the water from the town's well. So she goes to the well and she sees this green stuff, which is, goo that is the result of, as she says, a scuzz crawler. And then she starts to fear for her life. And Blood Fist is walking her way as she's sitting here crying because she knows that the well's tainted and that the elder of the town won't let her stay in town with the well all messed up. So Blood Fist jumps down the well, and all of a sudden this scuzz crawler jumps back out of the well, and he's fighting the thing. Smack, thud, bap, biff, pop, pow, pow, splop. You know, that's reminiscent of, you know, the 1960s Batman show, at least to me. And he beats up this Skullcrawler, and he says, no more trouble from him. And so the child is really happy. And he even tells her that, you know, you can take the creature and it's good for food. So she goes back to her village, tells the story to the elder, you know, this guy right here. And I guess he doesn't believe her. And he says, you know, leave, never return. He smacks her. And so she goes back toward where the well is, or was, and asks Bloodfist if she can go with him. And he is sort of indifferent. He's like, fine, you can follow me to the next town or village. And she's thankful, and so they go off on their way. And she introduces herself as B, and he introduces himself as Bloodfist. So this was the most engaging story. And this is what I like about Alterna Comics. If you don't know, they have a list in the back of every comic of all the places in the United States and other countries that carry their product. I could be wrong, but I think it's their way of acknowledging and thanking the people who carry their product. Because, you know, you have all these places in the United States, and you have Australia, Canada, France, Ireland, Israel, Japan, United Kingdom, and is it Zimbabwe, I think? So, while Alterna is a independent company, they're not, you know, totally unheard of. Now, maybe in the United States, people haven't heard of them, but it's only because of the big two, you know, dominate the market. However, I think that's going to be changing. Now, this is as it says, an ongoing double-sized anthology. It comes out bi-monthly. This one was released in July, and the next one comes out this month in September. So we'll be getting that one, I think, fairly soon. This is a good way to showcase different writers and to find out what the reader is interested in, you know, what they liked most about, you know, this anthology. Because on the Alterna Comics website, they have a poll, you know, what story did you like the most from It Came Out on Wednesday, #1. So, you know, I do recommend Alterna Comics. They have some really good titles. The ones that I gravitate toward and find most interesting are the young adult titles and the superhero humorous type titles. I did a review of the Metaphase comic book, which is really good, and I do recommend picking up issue 1 because it's, you know, it's something that I have not seen in comic books ever. And issue 2 is coming out soon, and it's only a 2-issue series, so, you know, it'll be interesting to see how it's wrapped up in issue 2. But it came out on Wednesday is a comic book that gives something for about almost everyone. While I wouldn't say that there's really no humorous stories in here. These stories could be directed at young adults or mature audiences. So go out to your local comic shop, pick it up. If you enjoy it, then go out and get a copy for your friends. So that's my review of It Came Out on Wednesday #1. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed this comic book review. If you did, please subscribe to my channel and smack that notification bell like She-Hulk so you'll be notified each time there's a new upload. Also, please do like and share this video with others so they can enjoy it as well. And don't forget to comment. I'm Michael for Spirit Comics. Till next time, true readers.